Hello, my name is John Bannon. I'm an attorney and philosopher. In today's video, I'm going to explain how superdeterminism disproves many famous philosophers. And I've listed uh, basically the top five that I wanted to discuss. Now, superdeterminism is the idea that we live in a static block universe without cause and effect or probabilistic causation in physics. In other words, if you could imagine a frozen moment of three-dimensional space, and then think of a stacking of such moments uh, in a hidden fourth dimension of time, then that gives you an idea of what I mean by a static block universe. So, the static block universe was proven by Swedish physicist Dr. Johan Hansen in 2020. You can read his proof, which is available in the peer reviewed physics journal Physics Essays, volume 33, number 2, June of 2020, uh, on page 216 to 218. It's entitled Bell's Theorem and Its Tests, Proof that Nature is Superdeterministic, Not Random. So you can look that up for yourself and read and understand the proof why we do live in a superdeterministic universe, or at least Dr. Hansen's version of our superdeterministic universe. So, with that being said, you can look at some of the most famous philosophers from the Enlightenment and post Enlightenment age and realize that these guys were wrong. These are names you're going to run into in any college philosophy course, and they're big names, and they made big mistakes. And I'm just going to go through some of those mistakes with you. So, the first philosopher is Rene Descartes, who famously wrote, I think, therefore I am. Now, what Descartes meant by that was that he was looking for the most fundamental thing. And so he doubted everything. And if he could doubt something as real, then that wasn't the most fundamental thing. So the one thing he couldn't doubt was the very fact that he was doubting. So he concluded that thinking was the most fundamental thing. Because in order to doubt that you're thinking, you would have to think in order to doubt it. But in a superdeterministic universe, thinking or human thoughts are a predetermined aspect of the physical block universe. They're an actual uh, reality, although an illusion, that is the result of changing positions of brain particles on abutting and intersecting static hyperplanes of space time in the dimension of time. So human thoughts are physical realities. They're predetermined and they exist in the block universe. You don't have a thought and then it disappears. It's still in that location in the dimension of time where you had that thought. It's just that you no longer have the thought because you're in a different location or coordinate in the dimension of time. But human thoughts are predetermined aspects of the physical block universe. Therefore, Rene Descartes was wrong. There is something more fundamental than human thinking, and that is the block universe itself, in which these human thoughts are predetermined aspects. So, thoughts are predetermined aspects of the block universe, which means that, therefore, there is a more fundamental reality than the thoughts themselves. That is the block universe itself and the transcendent logic that block universe exhibits. Um, and therefore, metaphysical thoughts can also tap into that transcendent logic and therefore be more fundamental than our thoughts themselves. The second big name philosopher is Immanuel Kant, who said, I have therefore found it necessary to deny knowledge in order to make room for faith. So, this is Immanuel Kant's famous critique of pure reason. However, Kant makes a gross error in falsely assuming that the structure of the human mind was itself a transcendent system because he didn't know that it was actually an aspect of the predetermined block universe. Therefore, uh, the limits of human knowledge are not contained by this transcendent human structure of thought, because the human structure of thought is itself an aspect of the static block universe. It's a predetermined physical aspect of our block universe, which means human thoughts can include metaphysical aspects or transcendent knowledge of the universe in itself and that which transcends it in a metaphysical sense. So human thoughts are not limited to simply the human structure of thought, um, because that structure itself is a physical structure which is in the universe. It's an aspect of the universe. So, according to Kant, you couldn't know any metaphysical truths, such as truths about God, which is false, because human thoughts, being an aspect of the universe and uh, and can exhibit the transcendent logic of the universe, can in fact know objective truths about metaphysics and God. So the third philosopher who made a big mistake was Friedrich Nietzsche. And Nietzsche, among many other aspects of his philosophy, said that everything is motivated by the will to power. Now, power itself in the static block universe is an illusion. It's not real. We think we have independent control over our decision making and can exert power and change the universe to our liking through our free will. But that is absolutely not true under superdeterminism. That's an impossibility. Under superdeterminism, there is no cause and effect in physics. And that means nothing that is in the universe itself can actually cause a change to the static block universe. The static block universe is actually immutable and unchangeable. And therefore, your belief that you have the power, the actual power, to change or make your future is absolutely untrue. Your future is already predetermined and already exists in the static block universe, and there is no way you can change it without cause and effect in physics. So Friedrich Nietzsche was just fundamentally wrong about his understanding of reality. The fourth philosopher I want to mention is Jean Paul Sartre. He's famous for the writing existence precedes essence. And by that he means we exist and therefore we give meaning to our existence. So the idea of what we are as human beings, that is something we create ourselves, because the first thing is that we exist, and then we have to make sense of it. Well, that's just completely wrong. In a superdeterministic universe, um, we exist in a static block reality, but that static block reality has transcendent logic in it. And that means it needed to be created atemporally by a supremely intelligent creator God. And in order for God to create the block universe with us in it, he would have to know of and understand everything in advance that he was creating before he created it in order to create it. So that means the essence of humanity, what it means to be human, what it means to be you or me, must have already been known by God before the creation of the block universe in order for us to exist in the block universe. So, in that, under superdeterminism, essence precedes existence. Finally, there's Ludwig Wittgenstein, and he famously wrote, "The limits of my language mean the limits of my world." So he believed that language is limited to describing the world of objects, and any attempt to talk about things outside the world, such as metaphysics, is nonsense. So language is only for describing real objects in the physical world, and therefore it cannot be used to accurately uh, describe or give us information about metaphysical subjects that are not objects in physical reality. Now, he was wrong too, and superdeterminism proves it. Language is a predetermined aspect of the block universe and not necessarily limited to the description of objects in physical reality, because human thoughts themselves, being an aspect of the block universe, must also be an aspect of the transcendent logic of physical reality exhibited in our block universe. So, because human thoughts, which are based on language, are physical aspects of the block universe, then there's nothing to prevent human thoughts from accurately describing metaphysical concepts that are actually true, because our human thoughts have to include the transcendent logic of the universe upon which the universe is founded. So, therefore, there's no reason to assume that language can't tell you something about the metaphysical. So, Wittgenstein was incorrect, and Dr. Hansen proved it. So, superdeterminism itself has a huge impact on modern and postmodern philosophy, showing that a lot of it is making false assumptions and consequently is incorrect. So, if you're a college student, for example, in a philosophy course, you really need to understand that superdeterminism overturns a lot of what your professors might be teaching you. So I hope you learned something, and I'll give you a second to read the board. Okay, until next time, take care.